He says dramatic new ward boundaries are leaving the people and the issues of the 36th Ward in the dust. Omar Aquino is a staffer and protege of suburban Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth and is running for the 36th Ward open seat on the Northwest Side's Galewood neighborhood. The race has attracted 4 strong candidates. Aquino says development downtown is doing great, but neighborhoods like his are languishing from a lack of City Hall attention. I'm Mike Fouché, publisher of Aldertrack, and this is our Meet a Chicago Candidate series. So, Omar, why did you decide to run for alderman?
Well, so I live in a portion of the ward that's now part of the 36th ward, in the Belmont-Cragen area, and it used to be part of the 37th ward. And so what happens is, because I worked for Congresswoman Duckworth, and prior to that, a lot of people knew that I worked as a legislative aide in the state as well, that they would reach out to me and say, hey, Omar, I'm needing assistance with the city on certain issues, get a new garbage can or some simple city service. And they say, I reach out to what they thought was their old alderman and say, oh no, you're not part of our ward anymore. They did redistricting and now you have to call, someone else. And specifically it was, Alderman Spizzato. They would call his office and he would say, well, that doesn't go into effect in 2015. So, a lot of people just felt like, they were playing this game of ping pong and they're the ones losing. And so, I realized that I had some experience in providing constituent services. I lived in the community, and I said, if the leaders that we have aren't sort of providing the services that people are expecting, then let me put my my hat in the race and try to do something different.
So, do you consider yourself a Garcia or Fioretti or Emanuel or Wilson supporter?
At the moment, I think I'm a lot like a lot of the people I speak to, door to door, and it's just undecided yet. I saw most of the the mayoral debates and whatnot. I haven't decided just yet who I will be supporting for mayor. I think there's a lot of each of the mayoral candidates have a lot to offer. I think that Mr. Wilson, as sort of coming from not much and moving up to being a very successful businessman, is a story that in sort of the American dream sort of story that people like to hear. I think Mr. Fioretti, Alderman Fioretti rather, his personal story of surviving cancer and then still want to sort of give back to his community and serve the city. As someone who lost family members to cancer, to see someone that would do something like that and struggle with his health and want to still give back to his community and his neighbors, I think that's something admirable. And I would say that probably the top two, quite honestly, I would say would be either leaning towards the mayor or Commissioner Garcia. Chewy, I think, has a lot of experience both in the city hall, in the state, and as a commissioner. I want to lean towards supporting him, but there, I'd also say that the mayor has done some good things. I haven't agreed with a lot of things that some of the things that the mayor has done, especially with closing 50 schools and things like that, and sort of taking our city in a direction of privatization. I really kind of would like to go away from that. But there are some things that I like. Just would like to see those things sort of on the west side in the 36th ward. For instance, tech incubators, having this the city as one of the prime locations for startups and the tech community. I think that's great. I think that 1871 though could be replicated in the 36th ward. Unfortunately, there's a lot of sort of vacant buildings that used to be homes to large manufacturing companies that really were the place where many people, especially in the Hermosa area, Belmont-Cragen and so forth, that the 36 now represents, they were good paying jobs that those people live there and also work there. I like to see that again, having the jobs where people actually live.
So you've talked a lot about ward-specific things and service. If you had one big citywide issue, what would it be?
I would say it's our pension crisis that we're in, and that its effect on the budget. I think that a lot of the leaders currently are just sort of in the city and in the state are just kicking down that problem, for future, down the road rather. And so what happens is that problem just exponentially just keeps on growing. It tightens our budget, so it doesn't allow for those city services that a lot of people, at least in the 36th ward, would like to see. It doesn't allow for another issue in 36th ward is public safety. It doesn't allow for us to pay for more police officers. I'm a proponent of hopefully paying for more police officers or having them on the street, but I also realize that if we don't have the funds to do that, we're not going to be able to accomplish that.
So that's a great point. I mean, you've been talking about needing more city services and more police officers and fixing the pension. How do we do all that?
So there's an idea that I have that it's working together with State Representative Robert Martwick, where it's called a progressive tax swap, which is, I believe, and my thought is that the way we generate revenue in this city is really not equitable. It has been seen and felt in the Northwest side and the working class families and middle class families that they're paying the brunt of sort of the revenue generating things that are out there. If you look at sort of the higher fines and fees that are going up and for the gas taxes, cell phone taxes, parking tickets, and so forth. And then you look at the infamous red light cameras, speed cameras, and all those things. People just feel like a lot of these things are really a taxation just on the middle class and working class families. So what we say is that we have this idea of doing a progressive tax swap that would take away all those things, get rid of those cameras, get rid of these regressive fines and fees, and then generate the revenue through a nominal increase of the property tax. And the reason that we say that is that, in our opinion, raising that revenue through property tax is an equitable. It's a fair and equitable way to do that, because of the fact that your property taxes is the only one that you can actually appeal twice a year. You can do it with the assessor's office. You can also do it with the board review. When, I tell people this all the time. If you go to Jules and you go buy some, the essentials, you go pick up a carton of eggs, some milk, some bananas, whatnot. You can't go talk to, at the cashier and say, well, I don't want to pay that. So the tax is too high there. It's just based on that fee. So with your property tax, it can fluctuate. If your property value goes up, well, then you'll be paying a little bit more. And so those that can afford more will be paying more. If your property value goes down, where in the 36th ward, especially in the Hermosa community, you see that a lot of when the foreclosure sort of epidemic, I would say, like sort of occurred in the last decade. A lot of foreclosed homes there, as well as Montclair, Belmont, Cragen. Now in Portage Park, especially, you see a sort of regrowth. But like I said, it's a way, it's more equitable. It's based on your property value. This year, I know in the 36th ward, it's part of Jefferson Township, the entire ward is. And so they're going to be doing reevaluations in the county level to see what the value of everyone's home is. I suggest to everyone, every door I knock on when we talk about this, appeal your taxes, appeal your property taxes every single year. There's some people that I've spoken to, and they say, oh, I appealed it, 5, 6, 7 years ago. I didn't get anything. I didn't win the appeal, so I don't bother with it. Well, if you don't appeal, you're gonna pay what they, the bill that they send you. If you do, you at least have that option that you might get some money back. So I think that that's a better way to sort of generate that revenue. But looking at TIF reform as well. We want to make sure that any surplus money does go back to sort of the taxing bodies, things like that. Looking at the possibility of a commuter tax, of the LaSalle tax, and things like that. But we have to be open to our options of generating revenue. The only thing is that I want to make sure that I'm one of the voices there, making sure that the middle class and working class families, especially within this 36th ward and on the Northwest side, are protected.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
You can learn more about the Omar Aquino campaign and 183 others by subscribing to our email newsletter at aldertrack.com, by listening to this series on Rivet Radio, or by subscribing to this series on YouTube. Thank you very much. More great stuff to come.